Hello, beautiful beings of shadow and light. This is going to be an energy report for the month of January. I'm really feeling called to do these. I've never done them specifically month to month before, but the quality of the energy is so palpable to me right now. And these messages feel like they are very specifically for certain people, and they're not meant to be kept just for myself. So this is going to be my very first one. A couple weeks ago, or I guess a week ago now, I did a Tarot and Akashic reading for the 2022 year ahead. And the card that I pulled, it was an epic reading and it's going to be an epic year, by the way. But the card that I pulled for January was the Devil card. And I remember at the time of doing the reading, I was like, well, I don't want to play into any fears around the literal devil or literal demons. So, I kind of tried to go with like the archetypal themes around and the energetic themes around the Devil card of addiction, bondage, self-sabotage. But being just over a week into the month of January now, I can feel there is a very literal quality to the Devil card energy for the month of January. And the way that it is playing out is that it's a number of ways. Okay, so the first one is that we are on the precipice of a quantum leap. And when I say a quantum leap, I freaking mean it. I freaking mean a quantum leap. Like the energy is building towards a massive, massive shift. And I'm not talking about the collective. By the way, this video is not meant to be talking about just like the energy report for the collective in general, nor is it even for the newly awakening people. This is for people who have been on the awakening path at least since 2020. And who are now at a level of occupying your light leadership, your light warriorship, your archetypal self, meaning your priestess, the archetype of the priestess, the archetype of the priest, the archetype of the Merlin or the wizard, the archetype of the sorceress, the archetype of the angel, the archetype of the healer, or perhaps even the wounded healer, as we all are the wounded healer. There are so many archetypes at play, but I am speaking to people who you know who you are. And even if the process is, ever evolving, continuing to unfold over time, and you are always becoming more and more of who you are, you already have a pretty damn clear sense of who you are. And it is not the very tiny, narrow, limited human ego version that you were allowed to experience through the false matrix programming that we've all been subject to. You have breached that. You are beyond that. This is who this energy report is for. But if you're newly awakened, please stay and listen, because it's going to trigger and activate things within you that bring you up to speed with that knowledge of who you are. So we are in the process of a quantum leap, and we are really being summoned into our leadership. To me, I began receiving this message I guess it was like sort of the solstice of 2020, but in a very, very unignorable, amplified way through the summer of 2021. So through June, July, August, it's like all I could think of and hear was like, the mission is activated. The mission is activated. We are doing this now. There is no time anymore to be frittered away on hesitation and wondering, is this all in my imagination? Am I actually this? Can I actually do this? I think I'm here to to be like a powerful healer, or I think I'm here to work with identifying and clearing and resolving dark entities, or I think that I'm here to do like psychic battle, things like that, or I'm here to be a content creator and an influencer and speak oracular messages to specific groups of people that are encoded with activations for them. There's no time to hesitate on that anymore. It's done, and you know it, and you can feel it. You've been in this process for however long you've been in it, but you're here for this, and you know it. It's go time. Mission is on. And we are about to make a massive quantum leap, Those of us that are at that strata in particular, we're going to feel it like in a way that is more amplified than those who are just waking up, or those who are not yet awake. And obviously the texture of it is going to feel completely different because of our lucidity through the process. And the way that a quantum leap was shown to me to kind of conceive of it and understand it is like, they showed me like a beautiful, elegant whale breaching the surface of the water. And so reality, like our external experience of reality, is the water. It's a medium that feels like kind of heavy, like it's the difference between moving through water and moving through air. So there's more resistance. So our physical experience of reality is the water, and we are the whale. And a quantum leap is when the whale generates enough energy to breach the surface, or a dolphin, or just some beautiful, sleek being that powers itself and generates enough energy and momentum to breach the surface of reality and be airborne for a period of time, for a moment, one of those beautiful, holy, eternal now moments, just suspended in the 0 point field. And in that time of being airborne in the 0 point field and being suspended before returning beneath the surface of the water, the fabric of reality completely rearranges itself beneath us, because we have removed ourselves from it, and it is able to then repattern, because the intelligence of the true matrix is it's beyond, it is instantaneously responsive. So when we breach the surface of our own limiting beliefs and we breach the tethers of our experience of physical reality, and we are then suspended momentarily in the 0 point field, the whole organic matrix of our reality, of our lived experience, completely is able to rearrange and repattern itself. And then when we return back below the surface, we are in a new experience of reality. And that's what we are geared up towards. We are like quickly approaching that. How it's going to unfold, what it's going to look like, I have no idea. And that's really not even the point. But back to the Devil card, what does that play here in the month of January is so before we make a quantum leap, it's like they're so complicated. And I always want to be brief, and I always end up being long-winded. There are two energies at play. So one is the darkness, the dark forces, meaning the aspect of creation that has chosen of its own sovereign free will to separate itself and cut itself off from all of source, and therefore is never being resourced by source in the direct, immediate way that creation can be if we are connected to source. It is starving, it is decaying, and it is inverted, and it must use our energy. It must use the energy of pristine, intact creation to fuel it. And so those dark forces, they obviously, as we all know at this point, I'm just repeating what is well known, they obviously do not want us to make these quantum leaps in our consciousness and rearrange our reality in an organic way that serves us and our powerful creative abilities. The dark forces want to keep us at a place where we can remain subjugated and separate from our autonomy and our sovereignty and our freedom, and where we can continue to be a fuel source for them. So they are launching attacks like, I mean, they've been at it, right, for the last 2 years in a very overt way. But right now they are attacking us individually, and they are coming out of the woodworks. And they are, as always, using our own limiting beliefs and our own traumas and fears as the perfect weapon against us. Because it's so personal that we respond to it. So there is a faction that is doing this from a nefarious perspective to try and keep control over us. And there's also an aspect of this that is just simply the universe, simply the organic matrix, handing us in a way that is both loving and neutral, our own limiting stories and our own bullshit, essentially, so that we can decide, are we ready for this quantum leap, or are we going to stay operating at the level of consciousness that we've previously been at? So both of those things are happening at once. And how it's playing out is that, like, we are being met with our own personal demons, our own personal boogeymen. They're coming out in full force to play with us and confront us. And it's coming through, it's mainly scenarios that, we're really afraid of. So relationships that are dysfunctional, conversations that we've been avoiding for a long time, because they are very frightening, physical things in our body that are, tapping our energy and, can potentially result in our feeling like we don't have the energy to keep going and we just want to give up. We just want to just cry uncle, coming as voices that literally tell us to give up. And like I had the other night, it was just a day of mothering, and it wasn't even a bad day. But I was so tired by the end. And by the end of the day, I was saying, I just need to give up. I need to give up. I need to just quit my business and just stop doing any of this. I don't have anything worth sharing or teaching anyone anyways. What's the point? And I don't talk to myself like that. That is not anything that has been self-generated in my field for years. However, it sure sounded like me. It sure sounded like my own voice. But I've cultivated enough discernment to recognize, and I didn't even recognize it right away. It was took me a couple minutes to be like, nope, it's not coming from me. I've seen other people really dancing with old stories. It's basically our old stories, our pain stories, our wound stories, our traumas, our PTSD reactions. And it's like we have to be tested. So on one hand, there's a group that is trying to use it to their advantage, use it to keep us small. But at the same time, the universe is, in a benevolent way, handing it to us and saying, do you wish to continue this dance with your old familiar dance partner that is this story, this sad story, this victim story, this pain story? Do you wish to continue this, or are you ready to retire that story with gratitude and grace and step into a new story? Everything is happening for us right now. And I mean, we know that everything is always happening for us, but January feels like a real squeeze, like a really intense contraction, a really intense contraction. But if you know me, then you'll know that I used to be a midwife. And if you don't know me, I used to be a midwife. What I know is that in the process of childbirth, contraction leads to expansion. And I've noticed that it's the same thing on a spiritual level and a consciousness level. A spiritual and consciousness contraction leads to massive expansion. But as in childbirth, if you are resisting it, if you're resisting the contraction, you are trying to brace yourself around the pain and just like wish it away. You're just trying to avoid it as much as possible. You know, you're resisting it. You're holding yourself clenched and tensed against it. The contraction can't do what it's here to do. It cannot move the energy the way that it powerfully is encoded to do. And so what happens is the expansion can't happen. The expansion can't happen without, you know, our willingness to submit to the process and surrender to the process. And in literal childbirth, those labors often end up being like prolonged and stalled. We call it stalled labor because the contractions continue to happen, but there is no change. There's no opening to allow the baby to pass through. There's no expansion because the woman is deeply afraid and she is struggling and fighting against the contraction. And the contractions don't feel good. I mean, not for me in having babies. The contractions are painful, but what I've learned is that if you can lean into it and like literally soften your being and melt into it, like almost like you're making love to the contraction. And it's not even necessarily in a sexual way, although that sexual energy is extremely powerful. It's like I meet you with love and softness and opening, and I dissolve my resistance around it. I let it wash all the way through me. Then the expansion is so, you know, it's magnified. We can expand to our fullest capacity in relationship to that contraction. And in the energy of January, these contractions are hard. These are not like, you know, beginning of the birthing process contractions. These are like, whoa, like transition contractions, like the ones that feel sharp and take your breath away and bring you to your knees and cause you to cry, cause you to doubt yourself, question the point of any of it, cause you to even temporarily feel like a loss of hope and like a loss of faith in humanity and a loss of faith, and like to really question, like, is this all a delusion? Am I making all of this up? Or do I have anything of value to offer? Is there any point? Can I help anyone? Or, you know, whatever it is for any of us, on whatever subject is the tender one for each of us. These are contractions that are bringing us to our knees. And yet, these are the contractions that will result in a level of expansion that is like, you'll be on the other side of it and you'll be like, oh, fuck, that was the most worthwhile contraction. That like I would do it again over and over again for that level of expansion. And to be really vulnerable, I have been going through a really intense root chakra repatterning experience, where in November, with the onset of those sort of like, you know, we're getting kind of like back-to-back onslaughts of solar flares. Well, it caused a flare up in my autoimmune condition, which I inherited through my maternal lineage. and ultimately like is like pathologically it's a leaky gut. And it caused this huge flare up of I guess you could call it eczema, but it's basically like my body just having to purge toxins through my skin. And it came up all on my face, and you can see a little bit on my lip is still like the skin on the top of my lip is very dry and very easy to crack. You can see my forehead still has like scars of eczema, but it was on my whole face, You can see the remnants of it on my neck. It's so much better than it used to be. All on my chest, it's on my shoulders, it was on my hands. It's been so intense. And like I looked like at one point in November, I looked like a burn victim. Like I had a burn. The only part that was unaffected was my nose right here because it's not very vascular. But I looked like a burn victim, and I felt like a burn victim. And the pain, the burn, the itch has been maddening. But when I tuned into it, the message that I got is that, like, this has to happen. All of this light coming in is flooding out toxicity as well, like physical toxicity, emotional toxicity, and like deep lineage wounds, deep lineage wounds. And I've had no choice but to submit to this process and surrender to it and embrace it and dance with it, meet it with love and gratitude, and let it completely alchemize me. And I'm a Scorpio sun. So, I mean, transformation is the name of the game for me anyway. That's what I'm here for. But it has not been a walk in the park. It has not. And it has required me to let go of certain things, let them die. I've been undergoing an ego death as a result of this. I've had to really significantly change certain ways that I show up in my life and show up in my day, completely change my relationship with food, my relationship with water, my relationship with self-care, like way beyond Instagram worthy, like, this is my Instagram story of my bath. It's like self-care is an absolute must. And the magic that I'm experiencing, I'm still in it. It's not over. It's not gone. I'm still in it. But the magic that it is yielding for me is so worth it that don't get me wrong. I'm really looking forward to the point where my skin does not itch. That'll be awesome. But I don't feel sorry for myself, and I would not trade this in. I am here for it. I am here to heal and purge these lineage wounds. I am here to be recoded by the light that is coming in. I am here to heal the root chakra on behalf of myself and on behalf of the collective. And I know that you're here for all of this too. There's so much magic being yielded to us. What else did I want to include in this energy update? Another thing is that I received a download yesterday that there are entities, there are more dark entities than I had really realized. Like, by dark entities, I mean a consciousness that is like hitchhiking along with the sovereign consciousness of, given human beings. And we are really, really, really going to see them. We are seeing them activate themselves and come out with venom this month and beyond. But this month is particularly intense. And they've been lying dormant, similar to shingles virus. So the shingles virus is the same as the chickenpox virus. You can't catch shingles from somebody who has shingles. If you've never had chickenpox, you can catch the varicella virus, which will express as chickenpox, from somebody who has shingles, but you can't catch shingles. It's not transmittable, in like a contact dermatitis, a contact share. Shingles is the chickenpox. So when you've had the chickenpox, part of the virus goes and hides in a part of your spinal cord called the dorsal root ganglia, and it just goes to sleep, and it sleeps there, and it is triggered and activated by it's often a stressful event, something that compromises our immunity and causes an adrenal cortisol response. And I saw that analogy to dark entities, that there are far more of them than we have known, and they've just been asleep. And if we are seeing people in our lives behave in ways that are uncharacteristically venomous and dark, to really exercise discernment and to pause and ask ourselves, is this actually the person, or is this a separate consciousness that is hitchhiking and it has sort of, is influencing the person? And furthermore, I've seen that this entity activity and part of this devil card medicine is that they truly desire to be, maybe not all of them, maybe not every consciousness that is allied itself with the darkness, but many of them desire to be delivered from this holding pattern, to be released. And they can't be released without being seen. So they must come to the surface to be witnessed. And it is for us to hold the frequency. That's always what it comes down to, but really strongly hold the frequency of elevated unconditional love, and to continue to move out of the frequency of fear, to soften our own resistance to the entities. And by that, I don't mean welcome them into our body or welcome them into our field. I mean, when you don't resist them, they can't smack up against you. So when you can allow them to be, so if you can be in neutrality and allow them to be, and even more powerfully, if you can be in a state of love and allow them to be and behold them with love, then you are essentially, there's so much more to entity clearing than this. This is not a lesson in entity clearing, but you are essentially contributing to the dispelling of all of the darkness and layers of dark illusion that enshroud them. Because underneath all of those layers of dark illusion is a God spark consciousness. The more that you connect with the God spark consciousness and hold that, the more it amplifies, and the less the dark layers of illusion amplify, if that makes sense. But again, there's so much more to entity clearing than this. But I do kind of want to keep this brief-ish. I think the final piece that wants to come through for the texture and the energy of January is that part of this quantum leap is the activation of our, as I was saying, our archetypal selves. Many of you might be feeling like you kind of can't even identify with who you were 4 months ago, 8 months ago, 12 months ago. You remember that version of you, but you have almost nothing in common with them apart from very surface level things. You feel like a totally different person. And it's because you are. And the information that I got is that many of us are experiencing, myself included, a kind of a slow walk-in experience. So over, I guess, let me tune in for a second. Over the last, 4 or 5 months, since kind of the end of summer, but I mean, who knows, right? Like what even is time? Just ballpark, this might be when you really started to become aware of it. There has been, and things like the illness that I'm experiencing, things like COVID, these are all part of it. We are being flushed out, where like we're going through these intense experiences, and it's almost like burning away, purging away, flushing out limiting beliefs, toxins, lineage wounds, lineage curses, entities, all this garbage that has accumulated, or density is a better way of putting it, because it's not garbage. It's not garbage. It's density. It's density that has accumulated and has obfuscated our ability to see ourselves with clarity, lucidity, to have gnosis, to know who we are, that you are so much more than this avatar. You are this avatar, but you are a 9, 12, 18-foot consciousness that is animating the avatar from behind through the mouth of God chakra. You are an ascended being. You are an archetypal energy that has come to occupy a human body and a human life so that you can restore the original blueprint, the uncorrupted divine blueprint of humanity, back to the encoding that we have been created with, that is still there. It has been tampered with, but it is being healed. It is being repatterned, partly through our own consciousness and partly through the collective oversoul consciousness through the sun, as well as other luminary bodies. And so we've been undergoing these intense experiences that have been breaking away, breaking down illusion and purging it and clearing space so that higher dimensional ascended self, that archetypal self, can come in through the mouth of God portal, occupy this space, the whole auric field, and be present in your life from a space of it's self-remembering. And it's beyond, I've talked for several years about you're worthy, you're beautiful, you're divine, but they're really urging me to move beyond that now, that all of that is true, but you are also, and I'm speaking to specific ones among you, and if you know it's you. You are also a being of higher dimensional awareness and consciousness. You exist at higher dimensional levels, and you have agreed to play in this 3D realm so that we can reclaim and restore the organic matrix of this 3D realm from hijackers. So we're having this walk-in experience where if you are kind of starting to look at yourself and be like, wow, I have really changed, or I don't even really remember who I was. I have that experience. I remember in the summer, I was planning things, creative things, and within a matter of weeks, those plans were out the window. They just were they did not match anymore. The onboarding of higher consciousness outstripped my human ability to execute plans because truthfully, I'm not super organized. But it was very fast. It was within a matter of weeks, and it continues to happen in stages and levels. And just, I guess this final piece of the energy update is to really look at you and see you and acknowledge you and say, it's time. Like, we have been undercover sleeper agents. We were dormant for a long period of time and we have become activated. And, you know, the activation has continued to grow at different rates for each one of us. But there is this next level of activation that's happening where not only are we no longer dormant, but we now have been handed, like, you know, we were given our code word or whatever, our trigger word that brings back the memories of like, oh, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. And you're not making it up. And it is not bullshit. And you know that. And I know that. And the time has come for us to step into the fullness and the boldness of who we actually are. Because otherwise, what are we doing here? And there's no old world left to cling to. It's gone. We're seeing the dying crumbles of it, but it's already gone. The life force is out of it. So this is our time where we are bringing forward the codes, the instructions, the knowledge, the wisdom, the giftings to begin rebuilding, reclaiming, restoring the original divine blueprint of humanity and the organic matrix of this beautiful realm. There's nothing small about you. If you are hearing this and you feel like it resonates with you and you want to receive support and participate in, you know, like a collective experience around really anchoring in this walk-in experience, as well as navigating these powerful contractions, I have a mastermind, which I'm co-hosting with my dear sister, Amron Bevels, called the Earth Star Soul Star Mastermind. And it is beginning this month. And actually, it officially kicks off in 2 days, but we are holding a little bit of extra time for any stragglers to join. And this mastermind is all about, my part is to create the temple. As a priestess, I remember temple and I crave it and I desire it, to create that sacred space of the temple, to channel oracular wisdom from previous lives and from those divine blueprints around. They're all being channeled through the different chakra centers, but they extend far beyond that, and they go much, much deeper than, you know, previous information that I've heard. It's like we have each chakra is opening up to yield more and more of its richness, its hidden treasure. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who is tapping into it and channeling it, but I am one who is tapping into it and channeling it. We are creating temple, we are creating devotion, we are receiving wisdom, we are receiving encoded messages to attune us to the highest frequency that is available to us now. And through Amron's gift, we are donning our armor as warriors of light, as warriors of wisdom and knowledge. And we are honing our craft, we are wielding our sword. So the armor is our boundaries, is our ability to be in this world and interface with the intense energies that are of this world, the increasingly intensifying energies, and to hold very powerful boundaries, not to keep the world out, but to maintain our own sovereign integrity as we interface with the world. And then the sword is your unique giftings, your psychic abilities, your high level, gifts and talents that you have brought to this earth for this time specifically. So this is a mastermind to cultivate all of these things and to lead all participants forward together in absolutely embodying the highest self that is available as it increases, and to step into the calling of our mission, because this is what we're here for. So that's it for the month of January. I can't wait to deliver the messages that come through for the month of February. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a beautiful day.